Welcome to the family office. Planning for the people who matter most.
Almost feels like it's going to rain here again.
I know, right? Welcome to another edition of the Family Office. I'm your host, Len Cooper, with Chris Philp right here. And believe it or not, Chris, I believe this is episode 10, man. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. I just, to me, I'm still trying to figure out where the summer went. And then I'm still trying to figure out where 2025 went, because I just think that things are moving very fast. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm excited about it. Episode number 10. I think we're just banging this stuff out. It's getting better every time. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, man. And we'll keep getting better, and we'll keep producing better content and getting tighter and just getting better at what we do. Because that's really all what it comes down to, is because at the end of the day, if you're not getting better, you're not growing, you're dying. So, we're going to continue to give good content. And so today I would like to take more of a lighter approach than we have in the past. And so in the spirit of that, you shared this article with me, and I definitely am looking forward to getting your take on it, because it says, if millennials buy all of these 11 things, they're pretending they're richer than they are. And so what I want to do, Chris, if we could, is let's go through each one of them individually. I want to get your take, and I want to see what your thoughts are, to see if you agree with it or if you disagree with the game.
I am totally game, and I'm already laughing right now, because you can probably already tell. I already have some emotional feelings that are coming up right now as I'm looking at this stuff. And I think you already know that I'm gonna call somebody out already right now.
Hey, you've been calling out the baby boomers, so man, I'm just wondering if that's gonna be a part of the conversation. So
how did you read my mind?
Hey, I'm gonna jump right into it, man. So the first one is weekend getaways for Instagram photos, and so it says this. Simply for the sake of getting perfect Instagram shots, millennials and other generations are overspending on vacations and experiences. So, Chris, do you agree or do you disagree?
So I think before I even go into it, I just kind of want to understand, or I don't want to understand, because if a millennial buys these 11 items, they're pretending they're richer than they are. Okay, so I'm just going to, for a second, take out the fact that we're talking about millennials, and let's just talk about anybody at any point, right?
Okay, I think that's fair. That's good.
Regardless if you're millennial, Gen X, baby boomer, Gen Z, whatever. To me, I think that this is kind of like goes in hand with almost like a cultural aspect, which is really American culture, which is excess and big and extravagance and opulence, and pretty much just ride it till the wheels fall off, right? I mean, that's just go, right? I mean, which is great, because it's always like there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of ways to make money. But I really think that this hones in on the millennial generation specifically very well, because there's a song by, I think it's called MGT. And I'll look up the song later, but or we could probably put it up there. And it really encompasses the millennial generation and what we were taught, which is go, 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 hustle culture, work, grind it out, big, extravagant, minimalist house, but you want vacations and social media and post out there, and everyone needs to know what your life's doing on. So I really think that the extravagant lifestyle and the bigger than life lifestyle was really given to a lot of millennials very cheaply during, obviously, the rise of the '08 market and right leading up to that, and cheap money and cheap housing and all that stuff. And now we gave cheap money again. And we just keep creating these cycles, these big boom bust cycles. And I think we're at a point right now where it's become so culture ingrained with certain people, especially America, where you're just supposed to go buy and live in debt. But realistically, debt is money. So how could you be wrong with that? I mean, that's really all there is to it. I just read an article about Lennar. You know who Lennar is, right? Mm-hmm. The home builder. Yeah. It's like one of the largest mass market home builders.
Absolutely.
In order for them to,
yeah, absolutely.
Right. In order for them to continue to hit their current sales goals or sales targets, they have scaled, literally as of today, they've scaled back the modal or the average price for their units back to 2019 levels.
Wow.
Just to keep sales on par, Len. That's crazy.
That is nuts. That is nuts.
So I think it's a whole culture, and I think the baby boomers have influenced that culture more than anybody. Because if you look at baby boomers, they still have a McMansion. They still got a Bronco, a brand new Bronco in the driveway. They got a Corvette in there. They might have a Rivian. They got an Escalade. They are living large right now. So everyone looks at the baby boomers and goes, that's what you're supposed to be. They eat out every night. They got 2 or 3 houses, and they got big cars that don't care about miles per gallon. Meanwhile, we're forced and being told we got to go buy electric vehicles and 4-cylinder cars because it's good for the environment. And we're going to get baked to death by global warming if we don't. So I think that people are just tired and they want to go on vacation right now.
Okay. So I definitely want to hear more. I wanted to jump in and just get your thoughts, because as you were talking about the baby boomers and how they own all of the homes and then they buy these expensive cars, and you talked just a second ago about Lennar's prices going back to 2019 rates. But don't you think that housing prices relative to income is rising too fast? And so what happens is that if you have an inordinate or a disproportionate balance between your income and your lifestyle, then you've got to make some changes. And I think the baby boomers were the benefactors of a positive housing market. They were able to buy their homes for $50, $60, $70, $80,000. And we were talking, even the two of us before, we were talking about the fact that we bought our first home under $100,000. And so the fact that some of them kept their 30-year mortgage and decided to pay their homes off because they weren't looking at their homes as a way to leverage, they decided to stay there and their homes paid off. And now they have a chance to relive their childhood, things that they missed out on. So they couldn't get the car because they were paying their mortgage, and they couldn't go and do the things they wanted to do because they were putting their kids through college. And so I'm not a baby boomer, man, but I think I need to speak up on behalf of them, because you're ripping them a new one, man.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I don't think they have all the blame here. Okay, so let me lighten it out for them. Okay. I was just having this conversation with somebody, and I said, look, things really, really are expensive. Like, I remember having conversations with my organization about, this was like during right during the height of COVID, maybe 2021. And I remember saying, look, if you're feeling it right now, because inflation is so crazy, if you're not making $300,000 a year or more, you're feeling inflation. I think that's what the statistic was in like 2021, 2022, right? I really believe right now that if you have a large family, and I say a large family is, I don't know, what do you think a large family is? Husband,
nowadays,
wife, and what, 5 kids, 4 kids?
Husband, wife, and 4 kids, I would think would be considered a large family.
Okay. So husband and wife with 4 kids that want to live in a decent area, and I'm just going to do some arbitrary math here. They want to live in a decent area in Texas, okay? A decent area in Texas. And they want to eat in a decently. You're looking at, and they want to drive a nice car with insurance and have utilities and have some cell phones and have some entertainment. I mean, you got to make at least $12,000 a month net.
I would agree with that.
Net.
Yeah.
So $12,000 a month is $140. You got to make about $150,000. $150,000 a year net.
Yeah.
Net.
Mm-hmm.
Net.
That's right.
Which
and when you talk net, for those people who may not know what that term is, that's after your taxes have been paid. So if you're looking at $144,000 net, you're the finance guy. How much is that gross? Probably somewhere, about a quarter?
Let's see.
220?
I'm saying $150,000. I'm going to say 150,000, and let's see what the percentage. 60. I'd say, what did you say it was?
About
150.
150. So my guess was
I'm thinking like 210, 220.
Yeah.
210, 220.
Okay.
210, 220, depending on how it's being filed out.
So that's a dual income earning household, one spouse makes 110, the other one makes 100, or do the math thereabouts. That's not normal, because the last time I checked, if you made six figures in America, you were at about top 6 to 7%. And
let's see what it is today. Go ahead, Len. I'm going to look.
Okay.
As you're.
Yeah. So if you're looking at, so let's just assume while you're looking that up, that top 6 or 7% is what the income range would be. That means that 90 to 94% of the population really doesn't have the financial wherewithal to be able to own a home and live comfortably if you've got more than 1, 2, or 3 kids. And I think that's a really sad state of affairs, considering the fact that many years ago, an income of $20,000, $30,000 could get you a home and a car and take a family vacation. And long gone are those days. And so I'm really concerned about where we are. So while you have a disdain for the baby boomers, I look more at it as a reflection of economic forces that are really taking the American dream and turning it into a nightmare, because most people aren't going to be in dual income earning situations making six figures. That just doesn't exist. And so you have the cost of living that's going up relative to income. There's a disproportionate number there. So what did you find? What's the number? You're at $100,000.
If you're making $100,000 annually, that puts you in the 80th to 80th percentile, which means you make more than 80 to 85% of people in America.
Wow.
So it's not even the top 10% anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, realistically,
that means that 20% roughly thereabouts,
20%,
100,000. That's 1 in 5.
Compare that to 1980. That to 1980.
That's 1 in 5. And so, I mean, okay. So really what that says is that 4 out of 5 people in the richest country in the world, not only in the world, but the richest country in the history of the world by GDP, not necessarily per capita, is living in a situation where they can't have a house and a car and 4 kids and live comfortably in Texas, mind you. Don't talk about New York. My son and I had a conversation.
Or California.
I was going there. My son, who lives in New York, and I had a conversation. He says, "You know what, Dad? What I realized is, and he's 26 years old, and he's frustrated, and he makes $110,000. And so he said, you know what? In order to really be comfortable, you have to make 20 grand a month, and that's in New York. And so California is not much different. So is Hawaii and all of those things. And so when you're talking about living like that in Texas, it just makes you wonder, where's the direction of our economy going? And it's really a shame. And so, so when we talk about the millennials and talking about, having weekend getaways for Instagram photos, just so they can look like they're living that type of a lifestyle to get the envy of other people. I don't know, Chris, how do you feel about that?
So I think that in coming into this and jumping into this, giving that caveat and that open is important. But
yes, that's very important.
As I go, then I look at this. This to me is foolish, regardless of where you're at economically. Look, if you're making great money and you have money to burn, like stupid money, then and you want to do this, great. But I don't think you would do those things if you're at this point in your life financially, just simply because time is so valuable to you. So you're vacationing anyways. Right. Okay. But to actually go and just plan something just to make a photo shoot for it or to do publicity for it, I think that's just a horrible way to spend money. And I understand some people will go, oh, but it's therapeutic, right? Like maybe it brings you therapy. Cool. Do it maybe once a year or once a quarter. But because I get it. Some people have their tics, but just to do it because they want to do it, it's so foolish. And I have known friends that have done this, and I think it's the most foolish thing you could ever possibly do. I don't agree with it. I think this one is right on. I think it's a poor financial decision. No one should be doing getaways just for the heck of it. before I throw it back over to you, Len, so you knew, if you made $100,000 in 1987, you adjusted it for today's dollars, that's $281,000 a year.
Sheesh.
Okay.
Wow.
Same thing. If you made $100,000 a year in 1995, it has the same purchasing power as about 209 today, if you compare it. And then $100,000 in the year 2000 is about 185 today. So isn't that crazy how that income? So 250 is the new six figures.
That's right. 250 is the new 100K. And all that tells you is that that's an erosion of the value of the dollar. And once we went off the gold standard in 1971, ever since then, there's been this decline. If you take a look at any graph and you look at the value of the dollar over time, you'll see 1971. Prior to that, the dollar was fairly stable in terms of the value because it was backed by gold. And then after that, it significantly erodes. And so, so there's this inverse relationship between the erosion of the value of the dollar and the cost of goods and services going up. It's that inverse relationship, because all it just means is that you need more of a weaker, diluted currency to buy the same stuff. And so what I believe with this whole situation with Instagram, I was watching the news the other day, and there was a story. There's this really famous street in Beverly Hills. And when you look at the movies and they have this lined street with all of the palm trees, that line of palm trees on that street, it's a very popular street in Beverly Hills.
It's in like every movie.
Yes, exactly. When you think California, that's the street, right? And so a resident was saying, back, years ago, people have always come here because it's an iconic street. But, back in the day when I first moved here 30 years ago, people wouldn't, they'd be embarrassed if you drove by. They'd be sure to make sure that they got out of the way, or they'd wait till the car came by to go into the middle of the street to take a picture. There was a picture, and I kid you not, Chris, there were 30, 40 people in the middle of the street, and traffic is going both ways. And you see these people taking pictures and selfies, and they have no shame whatsoever. And that just really tells you about the influence of social media on the psyche of people today. And so I'm lockstep with you on this one, man. People going to look like they're rich just to take a picture. I think it's great if you're actually on vacation, living your life, tell your story, no problem. But don't go to a destination, my opinion, just to go take a picture to look the part. Because I would say, I'll touch on this a little bit more before we're done today, but there's a deeper challenge or a deeper problem embedded with presenting your life in one way when it's really not that. So let's go to number 2. Designer clothes they can't afford. It says, according to a study from Atomic Research, 76% of millennials get their fashion advice and ideas about trends from social media. What are your thoughts about that? Designer clothes they can't afford.
I think sometimes the designer stuff is trash and in that the quality's crappy. I've bought everything. But what I can say is that clothes are important. I think that clothes should fit you right, and they should look good on you first before anything, and you should feel good in them. Because if you feel good in something, you're going to portray confidence in it. But at the same time, designer clothes are important for a lot of people. I was in a season of my life where designer clothes was very important for me. I didn't wear anything but designer. And I'm talking like Canali, Xenia. I would literally get ready and look at my fit and go $800 shoes, $200 socks, $400 jeans. You know what I mean? And go.
Not uncommon to have top to bottom $2,000 a day.
Yes, exactly. It'd be like $700. You're paying like $300 for a t-shirt sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed a lot with that stuff is that a lot of it is hand sewn and hand stitched and all that stuff. So I think for designer stuff, the smart thing that you want to do is find statement pieces. I'm not saying you shouldn't get designer stuff. I think you should have some designer stuff, but I think as a guy, it's important to have some pieces in your wardrobe or your closet that you can go to. Every man should have a black tuxedo. Every man should have a navy blue suit and a gray suit in their closet. You should always have it. You should never not have a navy blue suit, a black tuxedo, and a gray suit. You should have it. So I think you should spend some money on that kind of stuff. have a nice tuxedo, and have a nice blazer, a nice sports coat. Go spend $800 on a coat, and everything else doesn't have to look. Like I was in Nordstrom's the other day, and I said, dude, the same Nike sport shorts are $40 more in Nordstrom's than they are at Academy. So that's not a designer, but still, the thing is you should have some stuff. And also to that effect as well, is that when you do have that, gentlemen, if you're listening, when you buy a tuxedo and you get it fitted to you, and obviously if you're past age 25 and you've had some kids, your body's probably not going to change anymore unless you get fat or you get back to where you're normally supposed to be. Get that tuxedo, because then it forces you to stay in shape, and it forces you to have discipline, because you ain't getting a bigger tuxedo, bro. You're staying in this one no matter how old you get, because you're not getting you know what I mean? So everyone should have some nice pieces, but to just go all out with all designer stuff, I've done that in a season of my life. I don't recommend it, because I regret it, because you end up getting rid of the stuff, or it doesn't fit anymore, or something changes, or styles change, and they wear down faster. The best clothes I've ever gotten are cheap stuff from Walmart that lasts, 100% cotton stuff that lasts forever. And you never get it. But you should have some statement pieces. But to blow everything on just all designer, your closet doesn't have to be all designer.
Yeah, I think you bring up some very good points. I definitely can relate to what you're talking about, especially depending upon the profession you're in. If you're a business person, if you're a person where professionalism and trust go hand in hand with what you wear, I think your attire needs to reflect that. I think what happens a lot of times with millennials in particular, and also I'm Gen X, I think people in particular, but what happens, I don't want to make any generalizations, but I think specifically what ends up happening is people look at designer wear because of how other people perceive them, as opposed to the utility of that piece of clothing. And so for women, I've been married. In fact, on Sunday, it'll be my 29th anniversary being married to my wife.
Ooh, so, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I'm super happy about that. So, I'm not a woman, but I know a thing or two about them because I'm married to one. And one thing that I know about women in general is that there is a different sense of fashion. So for men, we can get suits and keep them forever as long as we stay fit, because a black, blue, gray suit with a white shirt and a light blue shirt, and if you get some power ties, get your red ties, your blue ties, your black ties, and you get your black shoes and your brown shoes, and then you have your black socks and your blue socks and your black belt and your brown belt. You can mix and match and change those, and then get a couple of blazers and some slacks. And with 10 pieces of clothing, you've got 200 different outfits because of the combinations, as long as you're keeping it solid. Right. And then you can change out your cufflinks and your handkerchiefs and, put some lapel pins on there or whatever you want to accent it, or, a nice necklace with the t-shirt and things like that. For women, it's different. And, they've got the after 5 dress, and they've got the dinner dress, and they've got the church dress, and they've got the trendy dress, and they've got the club dress, and they've got the cute pants and the slacks and the work pants. And, and they've got blouses and, all kinds of spaghetti straps. Like, there's so many different types of clothing. And I think what happens is people who get caught up in designer clothing, because here's the thing. Here's where you get brainwashed. Every single season, last year's fashion trends go out of style. And so therefore, the brainwashing is that you've got to go back and buy more. So we're just driven by this constant consumer driven behavior so we can stay connected with how we look in our clothing. And to me, there is a difference between cheap clothing. Like I remember looking at jeans, and you can look at a pair of jeans and know that they're, $19.99 versus a pair of $200 jeans. They just fit differently. They're sewn differently. They hang differently in the right places, by the way. You know what I mean? So all of those things matter. But I think where we're going is looking good for somebody else's approval. That's the wrong approach to me. So when you try to look the part for somebody else's approval, all of the characteristics that go into having good fashion sense go out the window because you're not doing it for you. And I can certainly relate. I used to dress for other people, so I'm certainly not pointing fingers at you, because I used to do the same thing. And so, once I turned a certain age and got to a certain income level, you start to have the ability to not care as much because people aren't necessarily controlling what your pocketbooks are going to look like. So I just think that it's a dangerous, slippery slope to dress for other people. So let's go to number 3, unless you have some other comments that you want to say.
Yeah, no, I just think it's influencer culture. I mean, that gets everybody. It's influencer culture. And yeah, as you get older, you start to realize what you like and what you don't like, and it just doesn't become a priority for you anymore. Women, it's different. Women have to have fashion. I get it. Some guys do also have to have fashion, but don't break the bank. But
exactly. Yeah. And so the next one is expensive name brand food. It says many people who consistently buy name brand foods and beverages over generic ones that are not only cheaper, but they're often taste exactly the same, are doing it for status and prestige. What are your thoughts? Agree or disagree?
So I think that this has become very much so different, and this argument is changed a little bit in that generics used to be generics, in that everything used to be made the same. But nowadays, I think brands matter if you're trying to eat clean and you're trying to eat healthy. So for example, you can eat a certain brand, and yes, it might taste the same, but how they made it taste is the difference, right? So what type of artificial sweeteners are they using? What type of emulsifiers are being done in there? What type of artificial natural flavors? What the hell is that? So I think that brand is important. I specifically look for specific brands because I'm not focused on brand awareness. So I don't want to get that confused where it's like, oh, I only buy Jolly Green Giant peas because they're the best. No, I'm not buying it because I like the brand. I'm buying this brand because it is air chilled, organic, non-GMO feed, pasture raised, that. So I'm buying it for the cleanliness and the health benefits of the food. So that's where I would say I would look at this argument. I won't buy something because it's like, I only buy Best Foods mayonnaise, right? I don't buy anything else. I'm not loyal to a brand like that. I'm loyal to a brand that's going to fit my agenda. And my agenda when I look at food is I'm going to buy brands that are non-GMO, that are organic, that are sustainable, that are quality ingredients, whole ingredients, non-processed, minimally processed. That's my idea. So I think brands matter when you're looking at that. But as far as brand loyalty is concerned, brand loyalty exists only for me if it's filling a problem in my agenda. So pragmatically, I guess you would say it, right? I mean, that's how you would look at it. But brand, I think brand loyalty in the old world sense is dying or is going away. I think it is, maybe. I don't know. At least for me, it is. I mean, I don't buy a brand simply because it's cool or anything like that. I buy a brand because of what it represents or what problem it's going to solve or the quality of the work, I guess, or the quality of what it's doing for me in my life, the problem it's solving. So for me, that's how brand matters.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. I think baby boomers who look at this as an argument, the context has changed, because when times were back in, the 60s and the 70s, generic and name brand foods often were the same because it was made by the same manufacturing. It was distilled and boxed in the same place. Just one had a brown box that said bread, cereal, versus Kellogg's or, Wonder. So, and also back in the day, there weren't as many additives and preservatives as there are now. And so with all of these chemical advancements and these large multinational companies really gaining a stronghold in the economy and in the food space, and you have this consolidation of food, then there's these corners that are being cut. And I think the situation now is significantly different because, there's so many things that are added to the food that can really hurt you. All of the dyes and all of the preservatives that are added. And then all of these processed foods, there's so much more of them now with all of the excess sugars that's being added. Before fructose corn syrup was discovered, you had sugar and pure cane sugar that was added in those ingredients. And so now, you can get more sweetness with a fraction of the chemicals. And so therefore they can make more money. And so as a result of that, in any situation, you follow the money, that's what happens. But I agree with you from the standpoint of, especially with meats, you've got to have good, clean meat, because if you ever take a look, just take some time to go look at how pigs and chickens and beef is processed in terrible slaughterhouses. The situation is awful, and they've got manure all over them. They're emaciated, and they pump all of these antibacteria, antibiotics into the food. It's disgusting. So definitely I'm with you on that. And so, but I think on the flip side, if you feel like you have to go to the higher end name brand stores, and I'm not trying to put anybody's name out there, but you know who they are, just for the sake of being seen, then that's where the problem comes. But I agree with you from the standpoint of to eat healthy for the right reason, not to be seen as a person who eats in these higher end places. So absolutely.
Great combo, man.
Well, I enjoyed the conversation, Chris. And for all of you that stayed along, hey, we appreciate you. We want to make sure that we're bringing you content that gives you value and entertains you as well. So thanks for tuning in to the Family Office. Be sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you comment, and we look forward to interacting and engaging with you. So until the next episode, Chris, it's always nice to see you, sir. Take care.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Family Office.